Hi, and welcome to another Trisky review. My name is Josh Cho, I'm your host, and today we have another Glendronach whiskey to review. This is the 15-year-old, so 3 extra years from the beginning 12-year-old. That's the video I started before this. It's not a whiskey you can find anymore, unfortunately. I noticed that on their website it's not there on their whiskey lineup, and it's probably because they're still they sold them all out due to the demand, and so their 15-year-old whiskeys are still in the barrels, just sitting in the warehouses until time has let them mature for those full 15 years. And so you can't find this bottle, but if you do, it's going to be a premium for sure, and it probably won't be for another few years before I think the 15-year will come back. So I reviewed the 12, kind of give you my thoughts on it. Really great whiskey, and I'm really looking forward to this one. This is definitely one of my favorite Glendronachs. This is the 15 that I actually first bought before I bought the 12 because it had such great reviews, and it was whiskey that everyone told me that I had to try if I really loved sherry whiskeys. So the 15, unlike the 12, is rated an ABV that's a little bit higher. It's 3 extra percent, so it's at 46 instead of 43. Reading it right there on my tin. And let me just give you some of the tasting notes that are written on this tin. The appearance is deep gold with a lovely mahogany heart. Okay. Nose, incredible concentration of aromas, treacle, toffee, and chocolate orange. Nutty notes and vanilla. The palate says a very dynamic and full-bodied dram. Chewy with coffee, chocolate, and treacle scones. The finish, a veritable feast to enliven the senses. Okay, so this is called the Revival, and it's green. It's a green tin. Still the same, however, it's non-chill, filtered, and it's natural color. It's great. It's how all whiskeys should be, in my opinion. So this is 15 years, and it's matured not in PX now. This is just specifically in Oloroso sherry. So none of that Pedro Jimenez that we did the 12 in the last video. So in terms of the flavors, they're going to be slightly different, I think, because as you can see, the bottle is almost empty. I really loved it, as you can tell. But the flavors will definitely be different since it's just in Oloroso as opposed to PX and Oloroso. Okay, so I'm going to get straight to the taste, or nose and taste. I would have to say that similar to the 12, the 15, when I first purchased it, it was a little bit heat spirit forward. It had that hotness that you get in younger whiskeys. I would say it was just the same with the 12, where it took a little bit of time before, about a third into the bottle before the whiskey really started to open up. And you don't have to wait till that moment happens. You can absolutely just pour the whiskey in the Glencairn and just let it rest for a few minutes. The distillery ambassadors for most of Scotch whiskey companies, whenever I have gone to see them talk at tastings, they always say there's a golden rule about how much you should wait when you pour whiskey into your glass in terms of when it's best in terms of letting all that spirit heat kind of dissipate. And that's, they say 1 minute for every year that the whiskey's been matured. So 15 years, such as this, they would say 15 minutes you'd wait before you start to sip. I don't know if that's just a strict rule that you should abide by. It's certainly a long time if you're getting into the 21-year-old whiskeys before you can taste it. But I would say, a few minutes is definitely 3 to 5 minutes, I'd say, is something that I think I would recommend for the Glendronach 12 and 15-year-olds. So, well, as sad as it is, this is going to be my last dram for my 15-year-old, and I'm just going to have to wait a few more years before I have to before I can be able to find it on the market for a reasonable price. So I think I bought this bottle for I think I bought it for probably about $70. I think now it's gone up to $90. I think it was like 60 something plus tax is what I bought it for. The 12-year-old, I didn't mention when I paid for that in the last video, so I'll just tell you now. The 12-year-old I purchased for $45, which was a great deal, I thought. $45 for a 12-year-old, sherry and PX influenced with natural color, 43%. That's amazing. This is a little bit pricier, I would say. Well, I'll make the judgment on whether I think it's worth it, but it's certainly, you know, about $20 or $30 more, and at current price right now, because it's no longer in production or no longer officially in release, it's like $90. It's certainly a lot more expensive than the 12-year-old. So, as far as the color, as the bottle or tin had suggested, it does have a very deep gold, mahogany color. I would say kind of like the 12-year-old color had that amberish gold. This is like that, but it's just multiplied in terms of the darkness. It's so much darker, which is something I really like when I check for natural color in sherry whiskeys. Just shows you how much influences there in the sherry when I look at whiskeys that are that dark. Oh, and the smell is just remarkable. It's very beautiful. It's very floral, but of course so much of that intense sherry. I just love it. It's such a great smell. I get coffee, toffee. I definitely get treacle. I get that pastry that it smelled in the 12-year-old. Brown sugars, dark raisins, prunes, candied raisins, caramel. On my nose that I wrote, in my nose notes, I wrote, so much sweeter than the 12, darker, richer, sherry nose, brown sugars, caramel, jam, stewed fruits, pastries, and there's a little bit of that hint of that Glendronach spirit in the background, which is kind of beautiful, kind of adds the youthfulness to the 15-year-old. But it doesn't taste like a young whiskey at all. I mean, that sherry and the aging is there. I love the smell and the marriage with the sherry sweetness, and I also wrote well balanced. It's absolutely well balanced. So I'll get straight to the taste. Wow, it's so sweet. It's so buttery and creamy too. And there's just no hint of hotness to that spirit at all in my mouth. It's just super smooth. No tongue bite. I mean, this is a really easy dram to drink, almost for anybody really. I think if you're just starting off drinking whiskey, the Glendronach series is a great place to start. If you're a sherry lover, you have to go to Glendronach and just try at least one of their bottles. 15 I would say is superb though. It's such a great whiskey in terms of complexity and layers of sweetness. I even got a little bit of tobacco just now. There's certainly that dryness that comes from the tannins of that wine barrel, the sherry barrel. So it's got this really nice dryness at the end of the finish, but it just makes my mouth just initially wants to water because of that, and the flavors I get from the finish is great. It just lingers in my mouth, that sweetness, brown sugars and raisins, and some of that kind of spiciness like tobacco leaf in there as well. I'm going to try for a second taste and see what else I get. It's just so good. Wow. I definitely get more fruits now, like other than the raisins. Like I get blackberries and blueberries, jam. So that kind of thing. It's pretty common. You get a lot of those fruity flavors in sherry, influenced whiskeys that are done just very well, just like the Glendronachs are done. So what else did I write on my taste? I'm trying to read what I've written, and I've kind of already said a lot of them, so I don't want to have to repeat myself. I would say one thing I missed that I'm reading now is the finish, along with its long finish and dryness. There's kind of this nuttiness as well in the background, kind of hints of almond or I don't know, almond and maybe pecans. I would say more like almonds maybe though. There's a kind of a a dark kind of brown nut ending. I don't know how else to describe it, but there's like a very kind of subtle, sweet ending with this nut, and it's great. It's just a very beautiful whiskey. So if I had to rate it, I would say when I purchased it, because I'm thinking of cost and value whenever I'm rating things, I would have to say in 90. I would say 90 for sure for $65 for this whiskey. I'd certainly think it was a great purchase. Would I buy it for 90? I don't know, because I can find one now in LA for $90, but I probably wouldn't buy it. At least not until it goes down when it starts being released again. So that's my thoughts, and the next video will be the 18-year-old, so I'm super excited about that one. So stay tuned for that as well. Cheers.